introduce yourself.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dendra. My name is Jeff Moeller. I'm a Senior Program Director here at the Water Environment Research Foundation. We're located in Alexandria, Virginia. So I'm very pleased to join you today through the miracles of technology and also through a lot of tutoring from Dendra. But I'm excited to be here and be part of the conference. It seems like the way webinars have been done in the past, you could do these things in your pajamas, but now with Skype and video, I've dressed up a bit. At Water Environment Research Foundation, I'm our program director here for our decentralized systems and also stormwater systems. Our organization does a lot of research in water quality issues, and we're dedicated to advancing the science and technology of water quality. Today, what I'm going to share with you is what we call some 21st century tools for communities, in particular for dealing with water and wastewater issues. The presentation that I'm giving today, a lot of it's based on information that I'll be giving in a presentation to EPA headquarters this afternoon. So after this presentation, hopefully you'll know as much as the folks in Washington, or you'll actually know more, so you're getting it here first. You guys have scooped the Washington presentation. But I'm going to go ahead and work through the slides, and then at the end, I guess hopefully we'll have some time for questions. So just by way of introduction, a lot of communities around the country in rural areas and suburbs are looking for ways to meet water and wastewater and stormwater needs. We've been conducting a lot of research on decentralized systems, and they appear to be an affordable and sustainable solution if properly operated and maintained. And they can also be used in conjunction with centralized systems to optimize water management. Some of what I'm going to share with you today is the results of a $16 million research program and research products that are available on decentralized systems. There's decision-making tools, design tools, management options, and much more that are available. I'm going to be sharing a lot of web links with you, and hopefully taking you to a couple of websites where the products are available. This program that I'm sharing with you is a joint effort between Water Environment Research Foundation and our partners on something we call the Decentralized Water Resources Collaborative. And it was conducted with funding from United States EPA. Just an overview of our agenda and what I'll be sharing with you today. I'll be talking first a little bit about the scope of this decentralized program, talk a little bit about the structure of it. The majority of time I'm going to be spending on some highlights from the research and products and tools that are available to help you in your work and working with communities in your area. And then lastly, I'll be talking a little bit about some of the outreach that we've done. We put a lot of emphasis on outreach related to these materials, to getting them into the hands of the end users, if you will. And hopefully at the end we'll have some time for questions and answers. So in terms of program scope, the program focused really on 4 areas. The first area is septic and on-site systems. These are your traditional on-site wastewater systems. Many of you are aware there's based on EPA's latest estimates, over 25 million homes around the country that use septic systems. These systems comprise about 20% of the total housing units that are served by wastewater. The rest is served by centralized and clustered systems. So if you were to include cluster systems in there with septic systems, your percentage would be even larger than 20%. The second area that we did work in is small community and cluster systems. These can be used in rural areas as well as para-urban areas outside of cities. In the lower right corner of your screen, you can see an example of, right here is an example of a cluster system in Loudoun County, Virginia, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. The approach that they've been using is to have development pay for growth. It's one of the fastest growing counties in the country, and they have developers, when they put in a new development, build wastewater systems to the community's design standards. The developer actually pays to build these systems, and once the systems are built, then they turn it over to Loudoun County to operate and maintain. So it's from Loudoun County's perspective, it's a great way to fund your wastewater system and to have growth pay for growth. Third area we worked in is an area of, it's really a newer area for applications of decentralized systems. And these are in urban and suburban environments. This picture that you see over here on the left side of the screen, this one right here, is a picture of a building in Manhattan. This is called the Solaire Building, and it's right in downtown Manhattan in New York City. It's a high-rise apartment building, and in the basement they have a membrane bioreactor. The membrane bioreactor is actually treating the wastewater from the building, treating it on site, and then it's reusing the wastewater for non-potable reuse in the building for purposes of toilet flushing and landscape irrigation. This project this building is resulted in 50% reduction in water use and a 50% reduction in discharge to the wastewater system. Some other suburban and urban applications over here on the right-hand side of the screen, right here, is what we would characterize as a sustainable site. This building here is Sidwell Friends School in Washington, D.C. Some of you may have heard of it before. This is where President Obama's kids go. Sasha and Malia attend school here. It's not too far from the White House. But on site, they actually have a constructed wetland that's treating wastewater from the school, and then it's being reused on the school property for landscape irrigation. Again, reducing the school's water reuse and their discharge to the wastewater system and reducing its environmental footprint. Also on site, they're using a lot of decentralized stormwater applications, such as they have a green roof on site and a rain garden where they're treating stormwater and infiltrating it into the ground on site. And they're using all these approaches to help educate the students and inform the public about better, more sustainable approaches for water management. And this last area that our research program focused on was low-impact development or green infrastructure for stormwater. I mentioned a couple of the techniques that were used at Sidwell Friends School. There's a whole host of them out there, everything from rain gardens to green roofs, to bioretention, to cisterns. All these techniques are designed to take stormwater runoff and keep it local, infiltrate it, retain it, store it on site so that you're restoring the hydrologic balance that's associated with stormwater runoff. So those are the research areas that we've been working on. And just a point of perspective, philosophically, the way we approached our research program, you know, a lot of times and in the past, decentralized systems have sort of been the redheaded stepchild of the wastewater world. They were used often only once in places that you couldn't get connected to centralized systems. It was sort of and oftentimes an approach of last resort. But now things have changed quite a bit with advances in technology such as membrane technology, advanced sensors and technology for remote monitoring of systems, and also our improved understanding of natural processes and natural treatment, how they function. Decentralized systems are having a bit of a renaissance now, and are viewed in many places as being a sustainable approach, caveat, if properly operated, designed, installed, and maintained. So it is an interesting time for decentralized systems, and some of the work we've been done is hopefully helping to inform progress forward. Oops, I went a couple slides too fast. So a note on the program structure. This research that we conducted was 100% funded by a grant from EPA Office of Research and Development. A little bit on the history. Phase one of it started actually about 14 years ago. back in 1997. The first 7 years were administered by Washington University in St. Louis. Had about 30 projects come out of that. This second phase, which began about 7 years ago, has been administered by WERF, and we had about 40 projects come from that program. The funding for the program just ended in October, and we just turned in our final report to EPA in January. One thing you should be aware of is now that we've come to the end of this grant, we've had a wave of information come out. Over 22 products and projects have been published just in 2010 alone. So there's a lot of new information that's available for you. And this has been conducted through a partnership approach. Our partners have been operating under a collaborative called the Decentralized Water Resources Collaborative, and our partners include the Coalition of Alternative Wastewater Treatment, which is a small organization in Massachusetts, EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute, National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. There's the Consortium of Institutes for Decentralized Wastewater Treatment, which is a group of 17 universities around the country that specialize in decentralized systems research and management. And then also the National On-Site Wastewater Recycling Association, or NAWRA, who maybe you've heard of before. They also are an association that specializes in decentralized systems. So our research has been focused on 3 areas primarily, and WERF has been focused. Each of the areas is each of the partners is focused on one aspect of this area that's I guess more central to their mission. WERF does a lot of work in science and engineering, so that's where we've focused our efforts. About half of the program's efforts have been focused in there. Coalition for Alternative Wastewater Treatment, EPRI, and NRECA focused on management, economics, and policy. And then the Consortium of Institutes and NAWRA have focused their efforts on training and education. So hopefully by combining this science, management, economics, training, you get a holistic approach to the program. What I'd like to give you now is just a couple of research highlights to give you a flavor of some of the work that was done. And then I'm going to focus in on a couple of specific projects that I think may be of most interest and use to you, and share some findings from those. In the area of environmental science and engineering, one research project we did, actually the largest research project we did, was a study on quantitative tools to determine the expected performance of wastewater soil treatment units. So, when you look at septic tanks and septic systems, a lot of people just think about the tank itself and the effluent quality that's coming out of the tank. And not a lot of credit is always given to the fact there is a soil absorption field out there that is also providing a lot of treatment capacity. But there's a lot that's not known about what's going on in the soil systems and in the soils, and what kind of treatment you're getting there, and what kind of treatment you can expect to get. Because it varies quite a bit depending on whether your soil is sandy, clays, organics, what have you, the depth of your soil, where's your groundwater table, all these things. So this first study was about $1 million effort to develop a series of tools, everything from some simple nomographs to a little bit more complex spreadsheet tools, to on the other end of the spectrum, some very complex modeling tools that can be used to determine your expected performance of the soil treatment unit system. So if you're concerned about nitrogen getting into your groundwater, this is a great tool to evaluate different systems and what you can expect given your influent, the type of treatment being used, and then what types of soils and the soil characteristics that are in place at your site. Second tool on here that I'd like to mention is this one here. It's evaluation of greenhouse gas emissions from septic systems. EPA had done a study that had shown that it was a really high level of emissions of greenhouse gases from septic tanks. In fact, when you looked at wastewater treatment overall for the country, was suggesting that the majority of greenhouse gas from wastewater treatment was coming from septic tanks, even though it was a smaller percentage of treatment compared to centralized approaches. So we did a study. That estimate was based just on some crude estimates and didn't really involve a lot of field studies. So to better inform those estimates, we went and conducted some field analyses and showed that it's actually the greenhouse gas emissions are half of what had been originally projected. The last item on there, influent constituent characteristics of modern waste streams. That study looked at what's coming out of households now. What are the characteristics of the wastewater coming out of the household, and how does that affect our design of on-site and septic systems? A lot of the data that's been used to design systems it's 30, 40, maybe 50 years old, based on studies done a long time ago. However, since those studies were conducted, people's behaviors have changed. The products that they're using are different. The ingredients that are in those products at home, that they're using at home, are different. So these things have changed what's coming out of the whole households in terms of wastewater. So we did a study to better characterize what's coming out so that we can improve our design and have a better understanding of what's happening in terms of environmental impacts. So there's a lot of new data that came out from that study. On the management, economics, and policy side, we did some studies looking at successful responsible management entities, or RMEs as they're called. A study looking at international case studies of innovations in integrated decentralized water resource infrastructure. Case studies include sites in Europe, like Sweden, that have eco-villages. They also include sites in Asia, like Tianjin, China, and also Middle East, like Masdar and United Arab Emirates. Some of these latter two sites I just mentioned are brand new cities. They're kind of being built from the ground up, and they're using more sustainable, holistic approaches. So we're trying to glean some lessons learned from that. Last project down there, we did a study looking at what are the barriers out there to decentralized systems. Why haven't they been used more? And how can they be overcome? And there's a lot of reasons why they haven't been used. They're well documented in this report, and an action plan is established for how to overcome them. Third area of research that I think might be of interest to you is, in particular, is done a considerable amount of work in the areas of training and education for on-site systems. And this includes educational curriculum related to proper design of systems, also installer training for how do you properly install these systems, training programs related to operation and maintenance, and then also a glossary, because there's been a lot of confusion about the different terminology that's used in the field. So now there's a standard glossary that's out there. A lot of the work in this area of training and education was conducted by our partner, the Consortium of Institutes for Decentralized Wastewater Treatment, which is the group of universities that I mentioned at the beginning of the program. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about a handful of select projects that I think will be of high interest to you. And the way I'm going to walk through these, in the top left corner of the screen, you'll see the project title, or at least what the project is talking about. And then the slides will follow from that. So you can always look in the top left corner if you want to recall what specific project we're talking about. The first one that I want to mention is called Guidance for Establishing Successful Responsible Management Entities. Just by a show of hands, try and use a little bit of the Skype, how many are familiar with that term, responsible management entities? Okay, one or two, so it's a new term. So let me define that for you. Responsible management entities are really, it's a term developed by EPA, and it's really a professional management approach to oversee on-site or septic systems and ensure that they're properly operated and maintained, and to help prevent them from failing. These have been proven to be a successful management model. However, there's not a lot of them out there. There's there's the ones that are out there, there's some good examples of them, but they're just not widely used or implemented. It's really, another way to look at it is a form of centralized management for decentralized systems. So we created a website to help guide people through the process of how do you establish an RME. So I'm going to try one of our tools here that Dendra has shown to me, and we'll see if we can take you to the website. And I'll share with you a couple of the products that are on there. So Dendra, hopefully everybody can see the site here. Yeah. So if you go to that website, werf.org/RME, what you get are a series of 10 different fact sheets that help people walk them through the process of how do you establish a successful RME. So when you hear people talk about green jobs and some of the things like that, this is a great opportunity here for green jobs. We need more RMEs to make sure that on-site systems that are out there are not failing, that they're not impairing and impacting human and environmental health. So if we can get more of these established and in place, that would be great. When you look at these fact sheets, fact sheet 1, or the first 2 fact sheets there kind of help people get started, explain in more detail what is an RME and why do we need one. Second fact sheet there talks about working within the local context. And this is really critical for RMEs because for an RME to be successful, you got to have support from the community. And some communities might have built-in support, and they're just waiting for an RME to come. If you have a community, for example, that's built around a lake, and people like to use that lake, and they like to swim and boat and fish in it, and the lake is having problems, there's eutrophication, or maybe the lake is dead, or there's not a lot of fish in it, or there's very visible pollution, and people maybe if they understand that one of the major causes is the on-site systems that are in the area that are failing and not working right, well, that might be a prime candidate for an RME to come in and help get things operating correctly and improving the lake water quality. You might have other cases where people are not as connected to what's happening with the water in their area, in which case you might have to work to build support or garner support before you can have an RME come in, because the RME is going to charge the homeowners for a yearly fee for operation and maintenance. And if people currently aren't getting charged, it may be a hard sell, because they'll say, I haven't had to pay for this for the last 20 years, why do I need to pay for it now? But if people understand the environmental benefits and the health benefits they'll get, they'll be worth supporting the effort. Some other fact sheets that you see in here are the regulations and business structures that are available. These RMEs can operate either as a public agency, they can operate as a private agency, they can operate in public-private partnerships. And then there's information on how do you set up a business plan, your financial requirements, and marketing services that you can use. So that's a really nice tool, I think, and one way to really help improve local public health through RMEs. Another product that I want to share with you is a product we developed on performance and cost of decentralized systems. And these products, there's a lot of information on performance and cost that's geared towards engineers and scientists. But one thing that's lacking out there is some tools and resources geared towards the decision makers. Mayor Smith, if you will, who may also be a part-time dog catcher. And he may not had a lot of training and experience in managing local wastewater systems. So that's what these products are designed for. What we developed is a fact book, which is really a primer on the wastewater basics for small communities. We developed a series of 19 different fact sheets that give a synopsis of all the different types of processes that are available relative to collection systems, treatment systems, and dispersal systems. And then there's also a spreadsheet tool to help estimate costs for different approaches that you might use. There's whether you use X, collection system X or collection system Y. So you can use that as that spreadsheet tool as a planning cost estimation tool for a given community. So I'm going to try once again to take you to that website so you can take a look at it also. And the URL is just in the corner there. It's just werf.org/decentralized cost. Okay, Dendra, can folks there see this?
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So when you go there, what you see are all the different fact sheets that are available. And there's also a hyperlink, as I mentioned, to that wastewater basics for small community leaders and planners. For the collection system fact sheets, you see all the different types of collection systems that are out there: gravity, pressure, effluent, vacuum. We have 8 different treatment fact sheets that we've grouped by different unit treatment processes that are currently available. Everything from liquid-solid separation to constructed wetlands, lagoons, etc. And then also, how do you dispose of that water? What do you do with it after it's treated? The different dispersal approaches that are available, whether you're using gravity, drip distribution, spray distribution, whether you're discharging to a surface water body like a river or a stream, or if you're going to reuse it. Wastewater can be a resource, and given many areas are water short, it can be a great way to, if it's treated to the appropriate use, a great way to reuse it. And then also, as I mentioned, the link to over on the far right is the cost tool that can be used to gather cost estimates. Another product I mentioned, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's an O&M service provider training program. Without proper training, your wastewater systems may not function properly. It addresses a real critical need for training for practitioners, and develop a whole series of materials. And it's also been used to establish a national basis for best practices among operation and maintenance service providers. I put the on-site consortium, the website down there in the corner where these materials and a lot of the other training materials are available, so that www.onsiteconsortium.org is another great web resource. One of the other products we developed was, as I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of decentralized systems are not just used in rural areas anymore. They're now used in urban and suburban applications. So we did a project that focused on urban and suburban applications and when they should be considered for these areas. We looked at 20 different case studies around the U.S. and also in Australia where these systems are being used, where normally a more centralized approach would be used. And then we looked at the critical path to explore how did these communities decide to use these distributed approaches, and what were the elements that were associated with their decision-making process. And then coming from that, we developed a series of case studies, as well as a decentralized wastewater stakeholder model. It's a decision support tool for people that are considering using decentralized systems in urban and suburban contexts. So when you look at the project and the different case studies that are out there, they can be grouped in three different categories of case studies of urban and suburban applications. The first is really in green buildings and sustainable sites, like the Sidwell Friends School that I mentioned at the beginning, or the Solaire building in Manhattan. And these are examples where decentralized systems are being integrated into buildings and landscapes, and then the resources are being conserved or recovered or reused locally, and they're also being used for educational opportunities. Schools are a great way for using these systems, and then and in some cases recreation opportunities too. They're also being used sometimes by independent communities. If you have a small community that doesn't want to hook up to the large centralized system of a neighboring community, and they want to maintain fiscal control, preserve their community character, these can be a good approach to use. And then also in some cases they're being used by centralized agencies as a form of utility optimization. And this is similar to the Loudoun County example that I gave in the beginning, where they're using it to pay for growth in newly developed areas. They can also be used as for sewer mining and satellite reuse. I'll explain sewer mining in just a minute. Let me give you one or two specific examples from these case studies. One is called Dockside Green in Victoria, British Columbia. This is an example in an urban area where you have a water-centric brownfield redevelopment that's using a real what we call an integrated resource management approach. They're, again, reclaiming the water on site, and they're also the wastewater on site, and then they're also augmenting it with rainwater from the roof and other parts of the site. And then they're using it for fit-for-purpose reuse, whether it be toilet flushing, landscape irrigation, watering their green roof. And then they also have as you can see in the bottom of that slide, the picture there, a natural stream or pond that's running through the site. And that stream pond really, it enhances the beauty of the community. It provides ecological function for wildlife and biodiversity. And really, it actually raises property values, which the developers like. The site also has an on-site press for sludge dewatering to produce feedstock for a co-located gasification plant. So again, they're reclaiming some of the resources that are in wastewater. Second example I want to share with you, this one's actually from Australia, but there's plenty of examples similar to this in the U.S. It's a sewer mining project. So what sewer mining is if you have a large centralized system that's collecting wastewater, you tap into one of the main pipes of the centralized system, withdraw the wastewater, you have a small treatment plant, and often it's a membrane bioreactor, where you treat the wastewater, and then you can reuse it locally. In this case, it's being reused the treated water is used to irrigate 55 acres of green tees and fairways at a golf club. So it can be a more economical approach for some of these agencies to use water, and it's a way, a great way to save on resources. It's a lot more economical than having the centralized plant have the water go all the way back to the central plant, treat it there, and then to a quality that can be reused, and then pipe it or pump it all the way back to where it needs to be. So you're treating the water at the site where it needs to be and reusing it locally. This is the decision, just a schematic of the decision wastewater stakeholder decision model. The decision model focuses on what's called triple bottom line. I don't know if you've heard that phrase before, but triple bottom line not only includes looking at the economic impacts of something, but also the environmental and societal impacts. So you're looking at it from a very holistic approach in terms of making your decisions. So it's a good way to approach decision making. One or two other projects I want to highlight, and then I'll talk about outreach. One is a new water project we did on new water paradigm. And this is case studies on a new water paradigm. And it helps create a platform for communities to overcome the challenges that are out there, and really does the best job of any project that I've seen in defining what are the key principles associated with the new water paradigm and sustainability. We used case studies from two communities, including Tucson, Pima County, an arid west community, and also a community in the east, in northern Kentucky, to give it some real-world context. But basically, when you look at what's happening today in our world, a lot of the challenges that we're facing include the interdependency between energy generation and water, increasing energy costs, climate change, got increased drought frequency, increased water scarcity, limited fresh water supplies, and these are greater pollution loads are leading to ecosystem health and natural service deterioration and water quality impairment, and also skyrocketing infrastructure costs. There's a huge gap between the money that's being put towards repairing and replacing our infrastructure and really what needs to be done for us to keep up. All these things, we believe, make us think that maybe some of the more traditional approaches that we've been using may not be the best approaches for going forward. A lot of our approaches to wastewater treatment are based on concepts that are not only, decades old, but really millennia old. They go back to Roman times. So for us to think that, these solutions that were developed for different circumstances long ago, maybe they're not the same solutions that we need going forward. So here's a picture just kind of outlines some of the approaches or characteristics of the old paradigm and characteristics that we see in the new water paradigm. The old paradigm was very highly specialized, and whereas the new paradigm might be multifunctional. For example, you might have a green roof that's providing stormwater reduction and improving your stormwater runoff, so it's improving water quality, but also at the same time, the green roof is improving air quality, it's providing habitat, it's providing energy savings to the building, and it's improving aesthetics. It's multifunctional. Centralized has been sort of the tradition of the old paradigm. Decentralized, give it equitable consideration. Segregated versus integrated approaches. Segregated, we've kind of been siloed in our approaches to water management. You got your stormwater. You go to a public works, most public works departments across the country. You have your stormwater division here, your wastewater division here, and drinking water division here, and they don't often talk to each other. How do we integrate those approaches so that we get a better system, a more optimized system in the way we approach water management? In the past, we've been linear, where we take water from the environment, we treat it, we use it, and we dispose of it. It goes out into the environment. Very linear approach. New paradigm might be more systematic in terms of, like the sewer mining example I gave you, where you're reusing it locally, or you're tapping into something and you might have redundancies in your system, or the green buildings with wastewater plants in the basement. Old paradigm extractive, new paradigm restorative, old paradigm inflexible, new paradigm hopefully more adaptive as we learn more about new technologies. This is just a schematic of some of the key elements in the water paradigm and a way of thinking about it and approaching it. Maybe a little bit small for you to see. I won't read everything on there, but note that some of the key characteristics of the architecture that's in there include multi-benefit solutions, like I mentioned, but also working with and mimicking nature. Mother Nature is really the best designer, and a lot of the solutions that we're finding seem to come back to that approach. Okay, last projects I'm going to share with you, and then I'll explain just a little bit about what we've done in outreach. Relative to stormwater, we developed a website called Using Rainwater to Grow Livable Communities. It's a great way to get communities involved in sustainable stormwater management approaches, and there's lots of tools and communication aids to help people through the process. It not only explains what people did, but how they did it. And it did it through a case studies approach. The website, it's very accessible, it's readily understandable by everybody, from elected officials to the general public to engineers. In fact, when you go to the website, on the left side it gives you different user categories that you can select. For example, if you're an elected official, you click on that, and then it sets the whole website up for you with the resources that would be of most use or interest to you. 2 or 3 quick examples from the case studies of how people got sustainable stormwater solutions integrated in their community. The picture that you see here is from Chicago. This is City Hall in downtown Chicago. It was the first green roof put up in the city of Chicago. And now the city of Chicago has more acres of green roof than any other city in the country. Don't worry, Michigan's got I believe still has the largest green roof in the country at the Ford manufacturing plant. But we use Chicago as an example of leadership from the top. If you have leadership from the top, it can really make things happen. In this case, Mayor Daley really drove the process for Chicago to, he wanted to become the greenest city in America. And they used public facilities like City Hall to demonstrate green technologies. And that really helped bring the private sector in and helped advance those technologies. An example here is Philadelphia, which is using a neighborhood transformation initiative where they have a lot of vacant lots that are not good for the community. They don't look good, and they tend to attract problems. These lots are being cleaned up and regraded and used to capture stormwater runoff and improve water quality, as well as provide multifunctional use. They can be used for recreation as well. Last example here is Kansas City, Missouri. I just give this as an example of something, really a clever marketing technique. In this case, they did a campaign that they called 10,000 Rain Gardens Initiative. And it really got the public involved and helped educate them about stormwater runoff and its impacts on water quality and the environment. Just a couple of mentions of what we did for outreach. We did develop a website. If you don't remember anything else that I say today, I would recommend writing this website down, www.decentralizedwater.org. This is an award-winning website. We were selected from among 11,000 applicants for a web design award. And all the materials that I talked about today are available on this website. And they're available at no charge, best of all. We also developed a quick guide. It lists all the different products that are out there and the key audiences that they're geared towards. We developed an FAQ document. I would highly recommend this document also for you. This is really, this guide really serves as the summary for everything we did, and it serves as the main resource to guide people to the information and products that were developed. We do it in a user-friendly fashion. What are the key common questions that people have? We answer those questions, and then we direct them to the research that's out there, help support those answers, and give them, even a much more detailed answer. And then we've also done some briefings for federal agencies and nonprofits on smart, clean, and green infrastructure and integrated water infrastructure. A number of other additional outreach efforts are, there's a nice little 7-minute educational video if you go to this website, werf.org/decentralized-outreach. We've got brochures, flyers, PowerPoint presentations. If you'd like to give a PowerPoint, now there's a template on there that you can use to share this information with others. Dedicated outreach. We've got journal articles, magazine articles, workshops, presentations, and webinars, and now we can add a Skype seminar to that. So I want to thank Gendra for that. And with that, I'll stop there. And I guess one thing I'd say is that hopefully we've helped advance decentralized technologies from the early systems like you see in this picture here. And I'll stop there and let's see if we have any questions.
I have a question for you, Jeff.
Yes.
My name is Bob Paulus. I work for a company called Quanix. We specialize in large-scale decentralized on-site wastewater. We manage 20 states, which includes Virginia. One of the things that you commented on was the RMEs, and that seems to be, for manufacturers, an issue. We develop a site, and we are looking for a good RME to manage the system after it's been installed. My question is, with health departments, we have food programs, wastewater programs, well water, you name it. Now, do you foresee in the future the possibility of a local health department being able to become an RME using maybe federal grant money, something of that sort, have that as an official additional program that they offer?
I think that's a fantastic question. I was actually thinking about it just a little bit before we started the seminar today, because I was trying to recall from the materials if there was any examples or case studies of local health departments that have done this. And I don't know off the top of my head. I know there's examples, as I mentioned, there's public agencies that are out there that are RMEs, and there are examples of that, and examples of separate authorities and things like that that have been set up, and then there's lots of private examples, and then there's some hybrids. But I don't know relative to the health departments, but I think that's a great example, and it may be specific to a county, whether they can, or a state, but it seems like, to me, it seems like it would be a great opportunity and a sort of a logical approach.
Yeah.
You know, one thing we found is in the research is, in some cases, the places where decentralized systems are failing and where we're, having lots of problems is when you have a homeowners association or something like that are tasked with overseeing these systems, because they don't really have the proper staff or training or anything like that to make sure they're functioning right. But a health department would be a great opportunity.
Jeff, we're working with WERF and a couple other entities on a proposal at the moment. And Bob Rubin, at the last meeting, was talking exactly about this, about a district, I believe in North Carolina, where 6 regional health departments formed an RME.
Okay.
Albemarle, I may be misquoting there. He was supposed to get back to us about information on it. But that would be pretty cool to form a 6 regional health department responsible management.
Yeah.
We can dream.
Yeah, there might be some economy of scale there if you get a couple counties together.
Well, and he was saying that because there's certain economic stability and expectations, regulatory standards, that they are actually encouraging and receiving a lot of businesses moving into that area because they know they're going to get support and they're going to get a service, regular service, and the economy of scale is enticing employers to move into that area to establish or expand their businesses.
Yeah, it could help be a revenue stream for the health department.
We have a good question there too.
I work for a local health department, and one of the challenges that we have with working with the community is there is a certain mindset out there that wants to have us show them the dead body, show them the person who was sick because of their sewage system. My question for you is if any of your research or if any of the resources you're familiar with, if there is a repository somewhere of research or disease reporting that kind of collects the dead body or direct association to illness information.
Yeah, I think that's going to be somewhat site specific, and it depends a lot of times on your local drinking water supply and where you're getting it from, whether it's decentralized and it's been treated, or if you're using groundwater, and if there's any, I think there has been cases, documented cases, where you're getting groundwater pollution from septic tanks, and that's caused problems. It's some of the health effects are not all, they're, as you guys all know, it may be hard to tie back to a specific source like the septic systems, but certainly the environmental things, problems have been well documented in cases here, like the Chesapeake Bay. It's definitely a contributor in many cases. So places where you have real problems with water quality can be more apparent.
Any other questions? There's a quick point to pass you. An excellent video prepared by Penn State University called The Food Asset, which if you haven't seen it, it's a great documentary of the public perception, and there's a wonderful quote in there from the CDC. It goes back to the Milwaukee outbreak of cryptosporidium, and it makes the point that when you get sick, you should think it's something you ate last night, not something you drank. And that the expectation, it's apparently, and I'm not sure if this still holds because the video was produced a couple of years ago, it's been since 1911 since there was a reported case of cholera on the mainland of the U.S. But cholera is a bug of opportunity. As you saw, it happened in Haiti. Cholera has not been evident in Haiti for years. And whether it's true or not, but the appearance coincided with an influx of a whole bunch of foreign aid workers that came in after the earthquake. So, you know, we try not to use the sky is falling, the oh my God, we're all gonna die type approach to this, but the link between the rise in life expectancy has a lot to do with the fact that we have clean water supplies. You know, electricity, refrigeration, and clean water have added 40 years to the average life expectancy in the past century. So, but again, goes back to public education. And if you've heard anything today, it's that we're all just hammering away on this, and you can't ever stop. Because even though we've done workshops for elementary kids, they go home and tell their parents. I could go to their parents the next day, and they probably wouldn't remember anything that you taught. You have to do it again and again and again and again, and find a message or a way of messaging that gets through it. You know, if you only leave one fact, it's like those drops of wax. If you only leave one fact in there, then count yourself blessing. And on the subject of pathogens and communicable diseases, just a quick note that the first session this afternoon is Lynn Schneider, who's with the State of Washington Department of Health. They recently codified and passed into law a new gray water rule. And she'll be talking about the motivation behind that and the political challenges of doing it and what it actually means. Because the whole issue of gray water reuse is problematic for some folks. And that's kind of a nice segue out of Jeff's, and it's really funny that we have this topic and then we send you all off to lunch. So, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking your time, and good luck at ETA this afternoon.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.